Are we expecting Park and Rec?
7:30.
Yep. As far as we know, 7:30.
Oh, okay.
You want to jump into any of your stuff, Tim?
This is both of ours. One side is the additional request from the budget, the other side are the money articles, and since that was the next thing.
Oh, good.
And if anybody knows of anything that a department wanted that I didn't catch, I was reading through their narratives, and sometimes the request jumped out at you, and sometimes the request was buried.
Yep.
So it's possible that I could have missed something. That's why I listed every single
Yeah, I
department.
did a sheet about a
Yeah, I
month
did
or
a
so
sheet
ago.
on it, too.
I'll check it against
Oh,
what
good.
I have.
Good.
I'll go
I
with your
just-
sheet, John. No, that's a bad
I just
guess.
listed every department, so it'd be easy to add something if we needed to.
Ooh, you updated that planning board.
Yep.
Ambulance, none listed, see new personnel, okay?
Right, they didn't put it in the narrative, they actually put it right in the budget in their personnel section.
Okay.
And it's in an article, it would be in an article which I have on the backside of the sheet.
Yeah.
The only other things that I had on my list were two from DPW. The seasonal worker for 15,000 and a tree crew
Yeah.
for 20,000. I have the tree crew in mind for articles. I don't have, I did not have the seasonal worker.
Didn't he do seasonal worker before?
I didn't see it as an article last year.
No, but I just,
I knew he was doing the trees again, but I didn't,
oh, did he skip a year on the seasonal worker, you mean?
no, I don't think so.
No, I think we got one.
Because we've had it, and I didn't know why it would just be a continuing additional thing, unless that's his way to get it into the budget eventually.
Last year was a one-timer, so I guess that makes it a one-timer again this
Oh, no,
year.
two-timer. I didn't.
Where did you, do you know where you saw that? Because I just looked and I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
DPW was what, 3?
He should be in 4. If you've done it correctly, he'd be in 4.
Top budgetary, grateful to receive an appropriation. We propose an extension of this appropriation to continue the program another year.
So that's in the budget? Because I don't
I
remember,
don't think it was in the budget.
I don't remember seeing an article last year. Does anybody have last year's annual,
I didn't bring it.
Steve, do you? No. If you're gonna give it to, I'll know almost which article it would be. Ouch. Don't break that.
Oh,
It's in the budget, right?
yeah, it is
Because I know
here.
we talked to him, one of our questions was,
Of course, he's got a,
would the savings from
Yeah, from the catch base.
the catch basin project be sufficient to fund this? And he,
Now, was
Pushed
the
back and said
catch
not really.
Basin project was in the budget,
hmm,
or is that another extra?
no, I don't, yeah, it is in the budget, as I recall. Yeah, increase to catch,
Now, I'm
Where
not
was
quite
that?
sure what distinguishes
yeah, his comments
increases
were,
that are here from increases that,
because if they were in the budget, they're not on the list. If they named it in the narrative, it's on my list. If they asked for a warrant article, it's on Tim's list.
Yeah, I don't see the seasonal one.
The seasonal is not,
He
the
said-
seasonal was not an article last year.
Then it was the year before.
Yeah.
He
This
lists
is
the
2015.
single top budgetary need and then lists 2 of them.
yes,
I think he's got to have points deducted for not knowing what single means.
I think the seasonal is in the budget. Didn't he include it in the budget or
No,
request
I
in the
think it was the
budget?
year before.
I thought it was a request within his budget.
I think it was the year before. I think it's FY15. It was an article. Do you want me to go get my book? I can go get, yeah, well, that is not, that's
Yeah,
FY16.
could
I'm
you go
saying
get it? 'Cause I don't see
FY15.
it here.
Yeah.
Haven COA
Where would it be in his
permitting
budget?
software. It was being his,
Outside contract?
possibly. Heavy duty field with
Would be, in, you know,
house installer, exchange tank, tank, pumper truck, preservation, PC, Howard cross country trail, revolving funds.
Yeah, I don't think it's in his budget.
Events, historic fund.
Catch basin thing definitely is,
Yeah.
Okay.
because he added 13,000 onto his 2016 budget.
Yeah, Don, here's the summary of all the articles, and it's not in, it's not in there. That's why I thought we did it as part of his budget, as one of those items that he requested.
Roadside tree maintenance, 20 grand.
That's in the article again for this year.
Yeah,
That was one.
okay.
Seasonal mowing, Article 15, FY 15.
Okay.
So we skipped a year. So it's not a continuation of an appropriation.
Yeah, because it wasn't in last year.
So,
Okay.
so now he loses another point
So I
between
need-
not knowing the word single and calling it
So then
continuing.
I have to add that to my article request,
We don't have to.
or do you have to add it to your list?
I suppose it should go on my
It
list.
should go on your list.
But now we split his two between your list and my list.
Yeah, but mine had last year, the finance committee decided they wanted to see this as, the roadside trimming as an article, because it wasn't gonna be a continuation within his budget
Yeah,
on an ongoing basis, that it was going to be a 1 to possibly 3-year occurrence and then go
Yep.
away.
And it prompted some good discussion at town meeting,
Correct.
too.
Exactly.
okay.
So that's why I have one as the article, but the other one is a request in his budget and how it gets treated. We treated it as an article 2 years ago.
Who's we? He says we.
We?
Is that the third point against him?
Yeah, I think that's the ubiquitous we.
Oh, well, okay.
Do you know which we it is, John? What? Do you know which we it is?
Royal.
The royal we,
royal we?
that's right.
Oh, the royal, yes, of course.
So you're on Lorraine's side of this ledger or my side of the ledger? Which one are you on?
Looks like both.
Yeah, we kind of.
We should stay on one side of the ledger and then go to the other, so we're not
Let's
going
look
back
at,
and
yeah,
forth.
just the additional request.
Okay,
Make
so
sure
you're
we got
looking at
it.
Lorraine's side?
Can someone explain what this Council on Aging request is?
Yes.
Or means?
Yes, it was,
Yeah,
it was,
I didn't
it was,
explain that either.
it was cute the way it was written. I'll show you.
Because I didn't understand the way it was
Yes.
described.
It's,
And that language doesn't help me, so just
No, it doesn't.
tell me.
so it says, for, where'd it go? Okay, use of any new funding.
Mhm.
The COA is not requesting any new funding this year, but if any new money is available, we would request full funding for our original outreach coordinator. Although the new coordinator is fully funded by the town, our original outreach coordinator is supported in part by our state formula grant. The 1.5 hours a week funded through the state grant amounts to $2,048.48 per year. If this were covered by the town, we could use the state funds for other items such as technology, volunteer recognition, and/or office supplies. So after saying she wasn't asking for anything, she did. So I thought I would put it in at such a small amount. So,
Yeah.
because it is a request,
Yeah.
just veiled request.
She didn't really ask, she just said if you happen
Yeah, it
to be
was-
generous.
Yeah, there's any extra money laying around.
Wish.
But that was the point of these funding
Do we have
requests,
any
was
trusts
into
that
us.
support COA?
I don't remember any.
I mean, tool. Yeah.
Well, but that's not COA, that's
No,
elderly.
that's-
It's
Right.
elderly and it's Board of
And that's
Selectmen.
direct to elderly, that's not through COA. I don't know if there'd be a way of funneling it through COA, but that's a possibility.
Anybody see anything else missing?
What exactly does, I forget, what exactly did the planning board want with this unspent balance? They wanted to spend it on the master plan, or?
Yes.
I think Don might want to address that.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that on Saturday when there's more people here, but the bottom line is that there was some money left that sunsetted, and there was controversy over the consultants that were hired. They got another consultant, and in the meantime, the fund sunsetted, and now everything's been resolved with the original consultant. You know, there was some money left over that went away that they'd like to have back so that they could, you know, complete printing and do the other things in the plan, so we may be looking at a transfer request. We'll kind of start there and talk about that on Saturday.
Okay.
I did bring a blank transfer form,
Oh, good.
just in case.
Gonna have to get filled out anyway, so.
Well, not if it's voted as an article.
Well, I think they have to act on the form and then decide whether or not they're gonna act on it as.
Oh, okay. Well, I can fill it out for Saturday, because it has to go to the planning board. It
Nice.
can't go to master plan.
I know. Be nice. It's lint from your coat. So we all set with Lorraine's side of the?
Yep, so does anybody have anything else? I'm trying to find John's list to compare.
Here it is. What? Okay. Yeah.
Let me take you through the list.
Okay.
So far, there are only two prior bills that we're aware of. One is for plumbing, and the other one is for advertising. I'm not sure whether the advertising is our local paper or the Lowell Sun. I'm not sure which, but these bills were not submitted prior to the closeout of the books, and therefore they're old bills and they need to be taken care of in town meeting. The dollar amounts I do not have. Julie left before I could get them from her. They're not, if I said that each of them combined total was $3,000, I'd probably be way over. So.
Okay.
Free cash, there are multiple articles for that. What you're doing with it, that hasn't been decided yet. Reserve fund fiscal year 2016 is, or is it 17?
17.
17. It is 350,000.
That one's already actually listed on the recap anyway. Yes.
Board of Selectmen, departmental management audit, this is the fire and ambulance rather. This is the, prices come in at $9,900 with an additional $2,500 for additional piece of that
Okay, so that,
review.
So the total is 12.4?
So the total is either 12.4 or 9.9. That's why you separate.
okay, I was reading it's
The Board of
99 for the fire and
No.
12.4 for the ambulance.
No.
I was saying that's saying.
No, it's 9.9 or 12.4, depending on which the selectmen finally choose. Board of Selectmen update on the town website was 12,000. Board of Selectmen replaced two servers. This is, the replacing of the two servers is 15,000, and then it's an additional 15,000 to have the outside company migrate all the information and connect them and make them work within the system. Board of Selectmen, ADA access for Old Library. This article was Lucy and Leo were charged with doing something. They put this in as a placeholder for now, and the dollar amount, dollar amount is something that they gave me. I do not know what the total encompasses.
Final article will have a real number then?
Yes. Hildreth House Housing Study. This is to a study for regarding housing up on top of the hill between the fire station and Hildreth House. The issue with the ADA access to the library and the Hildreth House study is that if you look at them, they may need to, or have, possibly would have had to have gone to CPIC for review there. So it's something that I need to discuss with the board.
Now, I can see that for the access, since we're talking about building something. The housing study, that would be
All study, under the CPIC bylaw, all studies.
all studies.
Because
Oh, okay.
studies, the studies then are the first step to potential future large expenditures.
Mhm.
So, I believe that was the rationale behind that when the bylaw was written and approved by the town. Roadside tree maintenance, there's that 20,000. Harvard ambulance, here's where their
Yep.
budget becomes an article. It's 52.5 for the full-time, 26,250 for the part-time, and 60,000 for the pay-for-call stipends. The planning board town planning, you have it in there two ways. One is the contractor, which we've done for the last 2 years. Is that correct, Doreen?
Isn't this year 3?
Well,
Is this year 3 or is this year 2? I think this is year 3.
I thought we were coming into
It could
3.
be, could be.
And then you have it as the planning board town planner, and then you see part-time employee. The position, the job description has not been yet rated by Personnel Board, and therefore it can't be placed onto the payroll grid that we have, nor do we know the total number of hours. So we can't give you a dollar amount.
Yep.
Okay?
So so they'll put either one of those forward?
This is year 3. Because this is FY '15, and he's in here at 60. The year before, he was in at 40. The first year it was 40 because he wasn't, and he didn't start till later in the year.
So that's those two, capital planning and investment fund funding. This is the $40,000. Capital planning and investment committee debt payment. That's just one of them. There are more articles from there. They have, my understanding is they will be coming to you with their work
Yep.
and what they have.
I thought the 40 was the debt payment.
No, the debt payment's around 150,000. The 40 is the recurring capital that used to be 70,000 for the DPW, and they reduced it to 30 and said, come to us if you want something bigger. So they wanted the funding to stay about the same, so that meant that the 40 went over to CPIC.
And the only way to put it into CPIC is through an article. Park and recreation, replacement of playground equipment at the beach, this is $25,000. Community preservation funds, pay down the principal. They are looking, and I don't have all of theirs here, but they're looking to pay down the principal of the $1 million that they owe for town hall. Pay it down by $300,000 initially.
Spell check.
Yeah, I know. The community preservation funds, FY17 debt payment. Their debt payment on the $700,000, Lorena's estimated would be approximately $63,000. Community preservation funds, town clerk historical documents, I don't know what that is. I know it was submitted to them. I don't know whether they're funding it yet or not. They're making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen next week. I don't know when they're coming to you for what they're recommending or not recommending. Community Preservation Fund transfers, they usually do some transfers within their funds. Harvard Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund, this is the minimum for $28,000 is the 10%, I believe, for housing. Conservation Commission Invasive Plant Management, I know this is the second year of their program. I don't know what the dollar amount is, but I believe that also equals what the 10% would be for this year. Community Preservation Committee Administrative Expenses is their expense one. And then Conservation Conservation has a land acquisition of $350,000 they would like.
Is that community preservation or direct article?
That's a direct article.
They didn't apply.
To what?
They didn't apply to CPC for that.
CP, no. I don't know, I do not know if they did apply to CPC or not. I don't know whether they did and they got turned down,
Yeah.
or whether they didn't because CPC had probably told them ahead of time that, don't bother. I have no idea.
What would they be paying this out of, existing funds?
They did not indicate as to how it was going to get paid. They want an article for $350, paid for,
Because I thought they had a whole lot of money sitting around there.
how much, well, how much money do they have in their accounts?
I thought they had around $1 million or something.
No, they don't.
354,000.
Oh,
I can't make it up.
You're kidding me.
I can't, I showed it to you.
That's their two funds combined? Okay, that's their two funds combined. That is their two funds combined. So no, they don't have $1 million.
Well, they just bought a couple of big properties, so.
Yes, they
oh,
did.
okay. Because I was thinking, as of a couple of years ago, they had a big chunk.
They did. Yes, they did.
They did have a few years ago, quite a bit of money.
Okay.
It's a bull market, I guess.
Of course, when they acquire land, it goes off the tax rolls.
We still get that money, though. Everyone else pays it.
Yeah,
Redistributed.
That's correct.
Do we, loaded question, but we think this is it? Or know the answer to that?
I think, given where we are at this stage of the year, I think this is, except again, like CPC or CPIC, those, I think this is it, or something that you have, like the issue with regards to the seasonal worker, might end up as an article, as it was 2 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
And then there are things that you have on the opposite side of that list
Yeah.
that you either yes or no, or
Fund or,
you fund or don't fund, or whether or not you want it as an article, or whether you want it in the budget.
Yeah.
So there are those discussions to be had.
Yep.
But I think with both sides of that paper, you have fairly decently everything. I was very happy with everybody. The 14th was the deadline, and there was nothing that came in after that deadline.
Right.
wow,
So,
what a miracle.
that's amazing.
So far.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the only ones I expect at this point are the planning board or the board, not the planning board, I'm sorry, planning board, the finance committee or the board of selectmen.
How about Parks and Rec?
That's always a possibility. We'll find out at 7:30, right?
Yeah.
Well, it is 7:30.
Huh?
It is 7:30.
It is 7:30, yes.
You talked to them, right, John?
No.
I did.
Oh, you talked?
Coordinated it last week, and I confirmed it after that, and
You had a separate meeting in between our meeting last week and tonight, right?
Lorraine and I met. Lorraine and I met with Wyona.
Okay.
There she is.
She is.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
You could not have timed it any better, Wyona.
Ouch.
Come on up.
Like you're dressed for the fine weather we're having.
2 degrees out there.
And that's a little generous.
How cold is your food?
It depends what you're talking about. Some of them are a little warmer than others.
Because you're right up on the hill.
That wind, crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in, Wyona.
Sure.
I think the biggest thing we wanted to do is just get an understanding of your budget submission. Since there wasn't a narrative, we really wanted to just get you to give us an overview of what you're looking at.
You have since received the narrative, correct?
Yeah.
Because that has been sent.
Right, and I think we
Okay.
sent you some questions.
Okay. Joining me later will be Field Liaison Doug Thornton, who had to sub as one of the chaperones for the ski club today. So he'll be coming in about 10 minutes.
I'm sure he's happy it's gotten cold outside.
Well, cold does not necessarily equal real snow, right?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
No, and we had that injury last year, so,
It's crystals.
yeah. So I'm happy to, where would you like me to start?
I guess the biggest thing is, the position you're looking for.
We're not looking
Just
for,
give us an overview of that.
we're not looking for any positions. We simply submitted, once again, the budget for the waterfront director, the beach director.
Okay.
No new positions are submitted. I think the spreadsheet always shows a park and rec / DPW position, which is a historical position, I guess, which is no longer ours. Correct. Yes.
Correct, that was a 28 or something like that.
Yeah, and since it was an actual, and it was there, it will show until it falls off.
Right.
And it will go away.
Right.
There was an increase, though, in the,
On the waterfront director's salary?
yeah.
That is correct. There's two reasons for the increase, one of which is the change in the rate of the waterfront director. That change in rate was done in collaboration with the assistant town administrator and the personnel committee, so they reset the rates for the beach staff by and large, but there was a small uptick in the waterfront safeties director's line. Also, the waterfront safety director evidently was not fully being compensated for her work. So because she was a 40-hour-a-week position, we learned through this process with the assistant town administrator that she was exceeding that, but not necessarily submitting that. So part of that was a problem of work equaling what was in the pot. We need her to be, we don't want Department of Labor trouble. We want to have enough money for the work she is in fact doing. And because of those two things together, then we got to the third issue of at the end of the beach season, we were required, I believe, by this committee to leave a certain amount of money in her line, or his or her line, depending on who's on the position. And if we don't have more money, what happens is the beach ends up closing early. Not because there's not money necessarily for the other folks, but it's the beach director. And so these are small increases together. When added up, that led us to do more. At the end of the beach season, the waterfront safety director prepared for us a schematic showing her staffing, average staffing in the off-season and in the full season. I do believe that was sent over. And certainly if you don't have it, we can certainly, but I think I did send that. Yes, okay. So the numbers are directly from that.
And we do have the money for opening in this
Yes.
June now.
Yes.
Yes, as required, we left the money in, but it did leave us in somewhat of a bind. So basically what happened in the summer of 2015 is the decision was made outside of Park and Rec to basically close the beach because we needed to keep that certain amount in the line. We understand there's financial obligations here, but it left us in a position where the beach should have been staffed because it was warm enough, global warming, hottest year we had, and we couldn't staff.
At this point, you're prepared to staff in the end of the summer until what time?
I believe that schematic had us going just past the Labor Day weekend, if I am not mistaken. And then for wrap-up right after that. So I think it was maybe mid-September. It allows the waterfront safety director to shut the beach down and get everything buttoned up, I believe.
There is always the issue at the end of the year for the last couple of years, and for as long as the beach has been here, given the number of college students that are utilized, it has to do with how many people are still around and have gone back to school and not gone back. So that keys into it too. So the beach itself might close, but there will be an additional week or 2 weeks of closing the beach with whatever staff are remaining, and the beach directors, correct?
That's part of it. So, all of the instructors, certainly, that all peters out after a certain point, but the staffing needed to be open after school in those warmer September weekends as we're transitioning back to school. We believe that can be covered in her structure. His or her structure, I shouldn't always say her.
Yep. The other big thing we wanted to get an overview on is the common and school expense increase. You plan with HAA?
So submitted to you was a rough schematic just detailing part of the planning for field maintenance and activities. This is basically a follow-up to last year's where we requested a larger amount and talked about some of the things that were needed to be done. We have been working with HAA, baseball, Ultimate Lacrosse, Ultimate Frisbee Lacrosse, and the school athletic director as it relates to some of the issues around taking care of the fields. And that's what the increase in cost is around. It's not that we're building anything on the fields, it's things about lining the baseball fields properly, aerating and dealing with certain turf issues on the other playing fields, striping, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just not been done quite well. We have issues with that. You know, so I think Anley Field is a common one that's often boggy. It's got some sort of drainage issue. It's tough to keep it mowed, and then we get complaints from the teams because they've been playing several weeks of games and it's not in good shape. So what you're seeing here is what was requested as a follow-up from last year, and it may have been a capital committee request, but that there be
We requested it.
Okay.
This was great.
Yeah, that there is a detailed plan about how it is done. Now, there was a little bit of additional money given to us this year, 2016, and we have gotten some projects done that were on the request list. And in every case, there has been a sharing of the expenses. And so Park and Rec has put money forth, but so too have the users, HAA and the baseball team come straight to mind. And it wasn't necessarily 50-50. In many cases, the baseball team had 80% of the money, or, you know, I don't want to quote because I can't recall which team did which, but the point being there was a sharing of the costs and a plan on the maintenance to get these things done.
Is your plan to have one contractor do all of this?
No, sir. So Diamond Athletic is the preferred vendor for the baseball and softball fields, if I am correct. Okay, it's Diamond Athletic, right? And then the other one is a different company that does some of the other work. So it's not always the same person doing the work. It depends on which field you're talking about. Yeah.
Now, this very, very large increase, is this something that we're going to expect to, it looks like you're expecting it to go up from there?
Yes, sir. So the statement was when we did this last year that the fields are underfunded in terms of maintenance for them to be playing fields. They're not lawns, they're playing fields. And so what we are suggesting is they have to ramp up the annual spending on their maintenance. Some projects happen every year, some are more seasonally, and some happen maybe like every other year. So if I understand correctly, the skinning of the baseball fields, and Doug's the expert, not me, so, but my understanding is that's something that happens not every year, but you're gonna have to do it every 2 to potentially 3 years, depending on usage and weather. And so yes, we are suggesting that there needs to be a bigger investment in that going forward. There is no Christmas tree money in here.
No,
just so
no.
you know.
One of the things that I've never quite understood, and it's probably entirely my fault, but nevertheless, we've got these sports teams largely at the high school level,
Yes, sir.
and the school system is coming in because they've been collecting money from people to play these sports or whatever, and they're suggesting maybe we should fund that. That's that thing on this list, right, Tim?
Yeah,
You're
right,
talking about the
Additional
user
requests.
The
fee.
user fee, yeah.
the recreational user fees.
And I got,
At
do
the
those,
school.
do those user fees have anything at all to do with maintenance of the fields that they're using?
No,
Okay.
not coming from the school. I can't say if that's entirely true when you talk about Harvard Athletic Association or the baseball clubs that I do believe have, you know, user fees that are what they're putting their treasury together with when we're sharing the cost on these projects.
And the school, and these fields, none of them are within the school's budget. They're not treated as the owner.
No, I don't believe that's how the town manages it. No.
Okay,
And
'cause
so
I-
the school often has to juggle with the athletic association and the other users. While they should always be given primary concern, there is a juggle. Often the best fields, 3 teams at once want on them. And so they do not have the preference that perhaps they should have because there's just not enough field fields for this to always be the Bromfield Field as opposed to the Harvard Athletic Field.
Who manages that? Is it one of your committee members, or?
The scheduling, it is primarily done by Harvard Athletic. However, Doug Thornton, the field liaison, and the person who was the field liaison before him helps coordinate. So if a club or someone needs the field, they will often tell us what dates they need. Doug works with Harvard Athletic to try to juggle that. A good example is Ultimate Frisbee, which is not an official Bromfield club sport, a team sport, it's a club sport, but they need places to be. So we work them in and around the soccer schedule on Ann Lee Field, on the track at Charlie Waite, and we juggle that, on their behalf.
In general, are the amount and kinds of fields we have adequate to the need in the town,
No.
other than the maintenance issues?
No, they are not. I do believe, so someone can quote me, but we actually don't have a field properly sized for one of the sports. Which one is it?
Softball.
Is it softball? We're missing a playing field, so there is a sport playing on a non-appropriately sized field. We'll have double usage, meaning you'll have soccer playing on Ann Lee, then you'll have the Frisbee folks on the edge of the field as opposed to being able to get into the field because they're at the same time. And part of it is the kids' sports all take place at the exact same time, right? Always together. So we could use more. For many years, the commission prior to my time would put in a request to the Capital Committee for $1 million for additional fields to make the point that there's not really enough, but there's just not a lot of options.
Would I be correct in assuming that use of fields for playing is incompatible with conservation land?
I would say that's an interesting question. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer. I think it depends on what kind of game you're playing. Some fields where we just need grass in good condition that is mowed, as long as conservation in your mind doesn't mean leaving it to overgrow, right? Potentially it could be a fit, but there are some sports that are not, and for many you have to stripe them, and while the striping should not be harmful from a conservation perspective, I don't actually know if it is advisable or not. But
She did very well.
With that answer. Okay, because the reason I was thinking of, very frankly, is that I'm familiar with Ultimate Frisbee. My son used to be an international level Ultimate Frisbee player.
Oh, excellent.
And I look at that wonderful bit of conservation land on Stowe Road down there and saying to myself, why can't they play Ultimate Frisbee there? Okay, I mean, it just,
Yeah.
and so then the question comes along, is there something that, would be worth exploring
Yeah.
as to whether there are any conservation lands that could be appropriately used without being incompatible with the conservation use?
It's a good question. I do know that when we're talking about youth sports, which is the primary thing that we're talking about here, we have other issues as it relates to safety insurance and other stuff, getting them there, parking and so forth, which means an open field alone is not so much an issue. But I think it's worth discussing. It's not something that we have, and the commission have any control over, so we just deal with the ones we've got and then beg for more.
And the other, if I may,
Please.
some of the other issues that Park and Rec has dealt with over the years is deeper road fields. If the beavers are down there acting up and doing their thing, you're gonna have flooded fields, and you're gonna have other issues going on until those beavers and the dam can be taken care of and the beavers
Yeah.
removed.
Or a bad winter, so when the fields are too wet, too long into the spring, people get very impatient and then we suffer from damage because they just can't wait for the fields to get good and dry before they try to play on them. And we certainly had that happen this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that again is something whereby it's difficult for Park and Rec to be able to control it, because those ball fields this past spring should not have been
Is that knocking?
been used. Yes, it was the door upstairs.
Oh, I wonder if Doug's in the wrong spot.
It could be Doug. He may not know to come to the back door.
Okay. Yep, he just said that he's locked out.
So there you go. Did you have issues like that occur whereby you just don't have it?
So the intramural sports have a certain priority then, obviously, in what you're doing? How, you know, where you're playing other schools and that sort of
Is
thing?
that what you mean? Yeah. I mean, really, it's supposed to be the athletic director and the interest of the Bromfield School that should take precedence. But it is a juggling thing. And while Park and Rec has responsibility coming up, we have responsibility over this. We're all working our day jobs when this happens. And so if something goes wrong with scheduling or usage or something else, we just don't have the capacity to go around and, you know, check them every day. So it's a cooperative effort, and really that the kids in the school should be taking first priority from the perspective of, that's another town department. So, thanks for joining us. I told them you were on the ski bus.
Sorry I'm late, everybody. Had some chaperones back out, so I could not do this.
And you survived.
I survived. And I was snowboarding today, which I don't usually do, so even more shocking that I survived.
Other question on scheduling I had is, have you guys had any meaningful conversations with HAA about a more, you know, formalized scheduling? Seems
Yes.
kind of ad hoc and it's been working, but.
It's not so much that it's ad hoc, it's just that it seems to have evolved prior to my arrival, and since in that they had offered to take the lead as one of the primary users because it required a lot of people power to move the pieces around. They worked more with Doug than they worked with the previous field liaison to try to be cooperative in this. There have been meetings pulled together with the superintendent, the athletic director, and the other users and Park and Rec to try to talk about scheduling.
Good.
It's not perfect by any means because there's certain fields and certain sports prefer and feel like they can lay claim to. And what Doug tries to do in his role is balance it out. You don't have a right to always have any one field or not your fields. We've got to share the wealth. So it's happening, not fast. And there is no system that does it, so it's kind of done like in an Excel situation, or HA has their own kind of thing for that, right?
Right, there isn't a documented website that captures all the sports together, but I pretty much am the cog of the wheel, and everyone comes through me, and there's a couple of fields that are shared amongst sports, and there are a couple of fields that individual sports lay claim to pretty much for the season. So they can do what they want. There are some sport teams that would like to have better fields that some of the other organizations currently are using. So it's a balancing act. You know, some of the soccer is a much bigger program than some of the other programs. So, you know, I try and, they basically are using the fields that they've historically used over the years. And they more or less jive with how big the program is. You know, some of the better fields are, you know, used more by the bigger programs. But we certainly should get this stuff all into a website where people can
Yeah.
see where it's not as transparent. Everybody can see where the people are playing and how it's broken out to make sure that everyone agrees that it's as fair as possible.
This year, Doug actually started trying to put the field usage, some of it on the Park and Rec calendar, so that people were aware of it, which is helpful
Right,
because.
all the town and school sports sort of have their programs and know of each other's uses of the fields. And then there are the grown-up soccer teams and flag footballs is coming into being a larger program, and they sort of share a lot of fields, so they put on the site. So on the site are all the contentious, you know, field times and availabilities.
They'd asked if we had the right amount of fields, and I said no, and I mentioned there's some sport we have where we actually don't have the right size field, but I could not remember which one it was. What is it? I know we've got something that's not right on one of those, but I never remember which one it is.
Oh, I think the fields lacrosse use probably they're not. Right.
They're not
I
sized
think
right.
baseball's good, soccer is good for U14 and.
Softball's okay, they use baseballs, they're fine.
Softball should not be the same as baseball. The base paths are different.
They held it field. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the pads are closer for softball.
But they are using the same field. Yes?
Well, softball's out at HES and then
Baseball's down a pond, okay.
Pond and then over.
I'm not the expert.
Yeah,
So-
yes. Yeah, soccer is, I mean, softball has a much shorter base path than,
Yeah.
They don't have a mound either, do they? They pitch from a level. And the rubber for the pitcher is closer than the pitcher's in baseball. So
I just stand in the
there are
back.
there are variables to the two.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so when the HS field's maintained by the baseball organization, I don't know if the dimensions are right.
Are there any fields over in Devens that are available?
Soccer is looking to, they want to oversee some fields in the spring. They're looking to use some fields in Devens. And the past 2 springs, of course, there's been 2 weeks when, we've had snow on our fields and they've had to go either to Devens or to Lancaster.
Yeah, okay. No, I was just thinking that, hey, wait a minute here, Devens is really part of Harvard, but on the other hand, does mass development keep us out, or?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a freebie. For,
Yeah,
you know, If
No,
we
it's
could,
not.
if we could
Mass
work.
development makes considerable amount of money on those fields.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
Yes, they
okay,
do.
so it's,
There's a fee paid when people are using it.
Yeah, no, if we could use the town to help us get freer access, that'd be great.
maybe next time they renegotiate the school contract.
There you go. What other questions did you guys have for us about these? That's okay, actually, mine's on too.
So these, you have actual quotes for the stuff that
That's what
you're,
I was wondering, is that you reference quotes are from 14 and 15. Do you have updated quotes? I mean, can you do what you want to do with that money, I guess is what I'm.
Yes, I believe so. So we had them refreshed like a year ago, and I know that when we have worked through the scheduling, baseball and HAA had looked at them again, and they're fine. There's no-
Baseball had the work done in the fall, so that's
Yeah.
an active
Yeah.
quote. And some of the other quotes, based on fields, are some are a little out of date and some are more, but we think they're roughly accurate, and then we would do the 3 vendor, get up to date quotes, but we think it would fit into the model we got.
And I do believe of Lorraine would be the expert. I think everyone who they kind of ended up with was a state contractor for the work that we were looking at. So it certainly would be no problem to get correct, updated ones. But part of the problem is, we kept re-asking for them, and they're like, hey, look, are you
Yeah,
going
we're
to?
going to do this. Yeah.
Seriously, again?
Yeah, so certainly you do understand that it's not for lack of trying. We'll certainly make sure that happens if it's funded, but they got a little weird. They're like, the quote's still good, don't call us until you're going to do the work.
no, the part of why I asked that question is simply that if it had been amount similar to last year, and you'd said we had contracts and we're gonna do it again, I wouldn't have asked that question. But when you have a more than doubling of the amount,
Not more than what we asked for. So what we asked for last year was more than we received, and so what you're seeing asked for again is basically similar to what we asked for before. And so, since we were told, this is too much until you all have more of a plan, here's a little bit to accomplish some of the things on your list. That is why there is such a disparity, not as though the
okay,
quotes were.
okay, that's right, I'd forgotten that. Yep, you refreshed my memory.
And staff, is the beach director and the waterfront director, is that the same position?
Yes, it is. Yeah. One, I guess, is a technical term.
And your recreation director function is basically being served by HAA.
I would tell you it's the commission that's doing that work. As the elected commission is serving as the recreation director, managing the work of the beach and overseeing all of the other recreational aspects.
Okay, okay, well, the reason I was asking that question is I've lived in towns where there was a recreation department that would organize various kinds of events for, adult soccer and that sort of thing. And you made reference to that, so some of that is certainly occurring here.
It is,
But,
yes.
and I was making the assumption that the park and rec was not the ones actually doing that.
You are correct from that point of view. A lot of it is generated by the activities of the town. We have a lot of active people who help move some of this stuff forward. Also, I would say that continuing ed, in my estimation, does a lot of that work in bringing things in. And so it's not as though we're organizing them with town staffing,
Say
but there's
continuing
vendors
ed, what are you
through the
referring?
Bromfield School.
Okay, okay.
I was going to say Linda Dwight, that's not right. It's
Judy Kavanaugh?
Thank you, Judy Kavanaugh. For example, the Marcus Lewis Tennis program is something that is certainly run through us in that it's using the tennis courts, but it's actually administered most often really through continuing ed. So there's a collaboration on many of these to bring the maximum amount of recreation activities to the town. There's an interesting mix of how it happens.
So basically, we have a terribly fragmented system for dealing with all of this.
We have community
Correct.
ed, we have HAA, and we have Park and Rec.
Yeah,
All-
yes.
And there are other things that don't fall under HAA, I believe.
Oh, yeah, of
And of
course.
course, all the town teams.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, the system could certainly be more efficient if managed under one, a park and rec situation of some sort. And quite frankly, the level of scheduling, registration, and other stuff that's done by the elected members of the commission can sometimes be egregious, and so we won't even mention the words beach sticker. But, I mean, there are certainly tasks where we feel like we could make a case for, not this year, obviously, but we could make a case for where staffing might be much more prudent in saving the town's resources, because it would funnel some of this activity.
Better for us to mention canoe and kayak?
Sorry.
I couldn't resist.
We are the easy ones to pick on, because we're elected, so we don't always get it right. But we handle the registration system, so it's Doug and I that actually are up in the middle of the night trying to figure out, how do I get that class onto the system so people can register for it? And, sometimes we succeed, and when we don't, you read about it.
Have you consulted with the Bromfield Tech Director as to any adequate software for your purposes?
We have not, in that the commission's software that they're using was researched prior to my arrival. It's a appropriate software for this type of thing. It's similar to what AAA is or was using.
And the soccer club.
Yeah, and it's not the problem, but it simply requires human input and troubleshooting to work. So, no, we haven't. Unless he has a robot, I don't think that's
Well,
going
we
to help.
thank you for your sacrifice.
Okay. Anyway, think about that. It's almost time for that to happen again. Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
Yes, please.
So we've talked about the commons piece. The beach is just basically that additional issue on the wages. We talked about the beach director. And those are the only three you guys are seeing, right? Our fourth is the one we're doing. Okay. Okay.
What's the fourth?
Our revolving account, which doesn't affect you guys. yes.
Okay. Oh, the revolving fund
That's where she
stuff.
pays for all the beach staff and
Yeah, yeah.
the costs of that program.
Yeah.
Feel free to give us more money than we asked for. He laughs. That was generous.
I'm sure we feel free to.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, you got everything you need from us?
I mean,
They all came back, that's all that matters.
No one got lost and no one hit a tree.
Exactly.
yeah, we did actually have an injury 2 weeks ago. And a behavior issue last week, but this week we solved both those problems.
You don't allow them to play touch football while they're snowboarding, I assume.
No, I've heard of that game.
Yes, I think we lost to Kennedy that way one time
Yes,
a
we
few
did,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a young man that hurt himself quite a bit last year, but I think
Last year was a big injury. Yeah.
but he's fine. He's not back this year, is he?
He's not skiing this year, so, which is good.
You doing the high school or the elementary?
He was he in high
He was-
school?
he
Young
was
high
middle
school?
school.
Middle school? On a run that was too much for him, I think.
Well, that's the problem, is you get your friends egging you on, oh, you can do this run, sure, so.
Oh, Black Double Diamond or whatever they're called.
Yeah, right.
I don't ski, so.
And, yeah, come with us with this black diamond, that's the big problem.
Okay, and the other stuff we talked about, that's not this committee, that's a different committee.
That's CPIC.
And if you wanted me to do something, you would have called me. So that means you don't love me and you don't want me to do anything. That's what you're telling me? Okay, I get
I
it.
thought you didn't want calls from either one of us anymore. I thought you put us in that folder that says spam or trash or whatever.
Depends
Well,
on
it
what
is,
you're
but
calling
it
it.
it was listed on your list of articles.
Well, I put it on the list
If
of
the
articles
finance
for
committee
them,
wants to
but
ask
it's
about it.
CPIC. It is CPIC, and I don't know, personally, I don't know when they're meeting again.
Okay.
January
But once-
25th,
is it-
next Monday.
They are meeting next Monday?
The playground equipment you're talking about?
Yes,
Do you know what time they're meeting?
8:50.
In the morning?
Yeah, we always meet Monday morning at 8:15.
Well, I'm usually preoccupied with another meeting, but I
That's
guess I'll go to
right.
that one this time.
Did you all have any questions about that?
Well,
This was-
I talked with
No,
Steve,
I
I
mean-
talked with Steve Victorson about it and told him that given the time of which this is raised, I didn't see there was a chance in hell he'd get it this year, but he better prepare his stuff for September.
I hope he gave you the background, and, you know, Lorraine took me to the
Yeah,
woodshed, and it's
he-
all very clear, yeah. We do totally understand that we blew the
woodshed, did you
dates. And it was not intentional, but it just so happens we ended up giving, we had 52,000, and it ended up going into what is ultimately free cash. And when we said we didn't have anything to propose, I was then told, if we don't propose it this year, then we lose it. I think, I'm understanding there's some ranges for us, but this is why, so,
That'll go through CPIC, they'll vet
CPIC,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And once
yeah,
once they vet it, they'll come to us with that.
And
Yeah.
that's where that money went anyway.
yeah, so.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not as though we're just being belligerent to the timeline or difficult or anything like that. It was a misunderstanding, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it was the woodshed, thank you. Okay. She does it very nicely.
However, she left
Okay.
without a splinter.
Huh?
She left without a splinter.
She's very nice about it, but she's like, so, let's talk. You guys, have you ever heard that?
I would imagine she's very similar to you with your staff.
Huh?
I would imagine she's very similar to you with your staff.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good. Hey, that's your job.
Right, yeah,
Right?
yep.
Everyone has their job. That
That's
is
right.
your job. You do it well, and there you go.
Yeah, my daughter was in high school. He came down, showed her. Left ski, hit
Are we the only thing on the agenda, or somebody else coming?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, you were,
We did a few internal things and that was it.
Okay, thank you.
I think the only committee we have left to deal with is that little organization called the school committee.
Yeah. That's what we had.
That's Saturday morning, yeah.
Good luck with that. I'll walk you after it now.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got this one, so you don't have to go through.
Yeah, take a
They
walk.
locked that one too.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, yeah. The meeting room has to be accessible, and this is the accessible,
But I don't think, John, can you do me a favor? That metal, where that metal thing, that silver metal thing is, can you flip that switch up? Yeah, thank you.
That's a light.
That's the light for outside, and it's
Ah.
there, and it's supposed to, when you go past a certain point, the motion detector
Motion
picks you
detector
up and
turns
it
it
goes
on.
on. Problem is that sometimes it was getting stuck, but it seemed to have been working, and
Neighbors
somebody,
didn't like it.
somebody shut it off, and the neighbor was complaining about it, so. We try and turn it on for the, prior to the meetings, and then once everybody's walked up the
Yep.
pathway, we shut it off.
I didn't know that. When I unlocked the door, I did not turn it on,
So
obviously.
when we leave, we'll leave in the dark?
No, I am usually the last one to leave, and I go up the front.
Oh, so you turn it on now?
It's just turned on, yes.
Okay.
All right, do you have anything else?
Nothing from
Lorraine,
me.
do you have anything else?
No, the only thing is, if you notice on the list of additional requests, inspectors under ambulance, they didn't send any for anything because they don't, we just give them a budget, that's the same as the budget from the prior year. But if you look at historically, the wiring inspector has needed a reserve fund transfer to get through the year. So I'd kind of like you guys to consider maybe increasing that appropriation. You know, I think it's 9,000, and there have been years of like 12, wait a minute, let me find it. 12, 13,000, so even if we added like 2,000 to it, I'll find it.
And he gets a portion of the fee, correct?
Yes, with him, it's because he got more money in, which is why we're paying him more.
Right.
Because they get a percentage of what they do. So yeah, so the wire inspector in FY '13, it was 15,600. In FY '14, it was 9,900. In FY '15, it was 12,700. And then this year, the budget's 9,000, and it's 9,000 next year. So, you know, we had 1 year of 10,000, that's the lowest we've had in 3 years. So it kind of seems like we're budgeting too low, and so it might, you know, be one fewer.
Well, what is the effect of that? That is to say, if I'm understanding it correctly, okay, the budget is too low, which means, but does it have any effect on our tax rate?
Well, increasing any budget does, but you're gonna pay them anyway, because it's coming out of the reserve fund.
Saves a
So-
reserve fund
Yeah,
transfer.
it saves a
Yeah,
reserve fund
okay.
So
transfer.
so more of the
But-
reserve fund would have closed out instead.
But if we.
So in
but if
the end,
we-
it comes out the
But if
same.
we, let's put it this way, if we put in a larger number,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
then when it comes to the tax rate, that'll have an effect on the current tax rate or not?
It will in the first year you do it, but it will be mitigated by the fact that you probably will close out more reserve fund. Because you'll have one less, or one smaller reserve fund to do.
So it becomes a one-time hit on the tax rate.
Yes, because the reserve fund doesn't close out till the next year.
Are you talking?
But we're talking $2,000-3,000.
Okay, but
I was
I
gonna
know,
say,
but I'm
you're
just trying to
talking
get
down to
the,
15,000?
I'm just trying to get the
No, no.
accounting principle down.
Yeah, no, we're talking 2,000 or 3,000, but yes, in the first year you do it, there would be a slight uptick, whatever it is, 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah.
But in that same, at the end of that year, you would have more of a closeout going to free cash.
Yeah,
So it
Which
would
would
end up
double.
washing, but it would, over time.
yeah. That free cash would then help the following year's budget. in
Yes.
effect. Or the fact that we didn't use as much of it.
Let's see, where is he? So far this year, he's
It's
at,
just half, right?
yeah, just about half. And of course,
Spring is coming.
spring is the heaviest time for that, yes. So. But since I wasn't here when you got that spreadsheet, I just thought, I want to throw that at you at
It's
some
only
point.
the wiring
Be
that
there.
has this problem.
Yes, the others all seem to be well in line. I mean, sometimes they go over, but
Yeah.
not regularly every single time.
Yeah, okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And I thought you were going to get an email from Alice. I don't know if she's out of email land.
Yeah, we didn't, never got that on the trusts, right?
What I could do is, tonight, before I go home, email you what Tim's about to give you by paper, so that those of you that prefer to read it online and see the color will be able to see that. Otherwise, we just print in black and white around here.
Okay.
Watching out for your tax
You
dollars.
know Steve likes paper.
Steve likes paper.
So so
Take one and pass it around.
we get shades of gray.
Yeah. In blue.
50 of them.
No, actually, no. One.
65 of them?
You're just so funny. It's just hysterical. Just adding to the lawsuit.
They're better in color.
Pictures of it?
Yeah.
They usually are.
How many copies did you make?
8 of each. John,
Left one, third one.
8 of each.
Oh, okay, that's why we're short here.
Something's wrong
I didn't-
here.
I did not know how many were coming.
Okay, I mean, but I took one.
However, something being wrong, you can deal with on Saturday morning.
Yes, this is,
Something
Okay, I'm just
wrong.
looking at 445 going up to 468, and they say it's a 5.1% change, and I say no.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Monty said.
Attachment A, the very first line.
Monty Tech isn't part of this budget.
He's looking at this sheet
Oh,
right now.
oh. Oh, this is entirely online from the Department of Education.
They can't do math.
It's political, man.
Well,
Don't accept their math then.
What is this presentation, actually?
that goes with one of the questions.
Oh,
Somebody asked, and I'm paraphrasing it, we'll probably get it wrong, but like if you increase something in some class or org or something, how does that affect per pupil?
okay.
And
Has nothing to do with.
you
Monty
can't
Tech.
really do that, no, it doesn't.
I was confused because it was stapled to the Monty Tech. Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't see a Monty Tech anything. Where are you seeing Monty
Oh, no, it
Tech?
wasn't Monty Tech.
Okay, but anyway, the idea was I was trying to show what the per pupil is. These are the last 4 years. They haven't given us the FY15 yet. We'll get that in another couple weeks. And the number of students down below to kind of show that the per pupil and the number of students and you know, looking at it that way because, oh, that was another question, is like, if you added 2 kids, how does that affect the per pupil? It doesn't. It really, I mean, it goes all into the overall thing, and so that was just to kind of show how per pupil is determined.
So we've, for that 10-year span, we went from below average to above average.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are we doing wrong?
Absolutely nothing. We're getting some of the highest scores in the state. And so if we're just a tiny bit above average,
What are we, well, on a money point of view.
well, but that's what I'm saying, is we're not. Because if we're paying just a little bit more than average, but our students are
Yeah.
scoring well above average, we're not doing anything wrong. We're doing something right.
It's chilly in here.
It always is.
I promise you Saturday morning you'll be warm.
How can you
I like
promise
that.
that? You're not gonna be here.
I like that mezzanine.
You like that,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
That's
I do.
always toasty up
That's
there.
That was nice.
toasty warm.
Yep.
I almost moved my office there today.
Yeah, it's always nice up there.
It's very nice up on that mezzanine.
All right, so we need to review these for Saturday.
Oh,
obviously.
whenever you want to, you can book it. One of us is here.
What does this mean? Membership.
The number of students.
1169.9?
Yep, because they count every single day a student is there. So if they come in for 1 month out of 10, they're a tenth of a student.
Okay. Okay.
Reminds me of Big Bang Theory.
These are the questions, which we'll go through later. Attachment B.
Which you would have to go through the questions and figure out what
Mhm, yeah,
attachment B
yeah.
goes to.
Yeah, go through them before Saturday, so we can.
Unfortunately, I will not be here Saturday. You, Lorraine, you'll be in
No donuts on it.
Just
extreme,
unfortunately with a big smile on his face. Unfortunately, I won't be here.
extremely capable hands of Lorraine.
All right, that's homework.
Okay.
Lorraine, you didn't have anything else?
No, I did not. I will bring you a printed out reserve fund transfer request
Okay.
for the discussion about the master
All
plan.
right, gonna do that after, before the school, probably after. Because there aren't gonna be enough people here to really look at that tonight.
You're not trustworthy.
Any liaison reports? No? We got enough stuff. Other business, the only other thing we really have to figure out probably Saturday is finish chopping up the book. Yeah. And vote on whether we want, to do Laura's suggestion for the spotlight on the ambulance.
Put the spotlight on finance department.
No, we haven't done that yet.
I haven't done that yet.
Be a good one, actually. So, we'll figure that out on
Given
Saturday.
that we're into transition, that might not be a bad idea.
Might not be a bad idea.
I don't know who you're gonna interview for it.
Lorraine, is there an attachment F, as in Frank?
I thought it was just A and B.
Where do you see that?
Does something refer to an attachment F?
Well, this one here with the usage for the different teams is B, and then the next page is C, and then the next page is E.
Attachment E.
But there's one in technology, number 4, about the grade 5 and 6 pilots. It says C
B, C,
attachment,
and E, so there's no D or F?
Attachment E
it
is.
says C attachment F.
I can email them and ask.
Oh, here's attachment D. That's all the pictures.
Oh, yeah, that's the presentation from the, outside group.
Is F maybe at the back of this? Yes, there's attachment F. Survey results. Following
very
D.
Yeah, survey results in the
Turn
iPad
back
survey.
page. Yours out of order?
It's got survey results.
That's the first page of survey results.
Oh, I didn't get that.
And then we get these charts. So you didn't go back far enough. Keep going back.
Right before all those graphs.
There
There's
you go.
F.
Got it.
Okay, so we
Behind
do,
that,
we do have an F.
After A.
ADF.
well, in between the
Oh.
sports thing, that's D.
Yeah, that's what I said, ADF.
Yep,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
alrighty.
Somebody was imaginative.
Created stapling.
Well, there were, I think, probably attachments to other things from the budget book and different places like that, so.
You know, they called those appendixes,
Oh, okay.
appendices.
Okay.
And if they get too many of those, the book gets a burst appendix.
Not going there.
All right, so Saturday, agenda items, obviously the schools will be in, so we gotta make sure we review all this stuff. We'll finish parsing out the book. It should take most of the,
You'll have a reserve fund transfer, hopefully they act on
you
it.
know, have the reserve fund transfer to talk about, and hopefully Alice will have the
Trust fund.
trust fund.
She'll be back on Saturday.
Full morning, she will be back for Saturday, yeah.
You should have a,
Send her a reminder.
you're starting at 8:30, you should have a full crew
Yeah,
Saturday.
hopefully Heidi feels better, yeah.
Still
she's-
smiling?
Yeah, I won't be there, but Alice
You
knows
won't?
that. Yeah, I'm out of town
Starting at
this
8:30
weekend.
on Saturday?
We'll do that ahead of time, right? All right. Motion to adjourn,
So move.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
If everybody seconds it, you have to stay there. Okay, I'm gonna go upstairs and email that to you right now.
So it's 8:18.
Where'd she go?
Lauren told me how to
Laura had
turn
to
it.
go home because her son was there alone.
Oh, so you were a voting member then?
What are you doing?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That should have been included in the.
It was.
It was
Well,
really.
I missed it.
Yeah, it was before you.